The internet is a fantastic tool indeed. Without it, I wouldn't be able to be talking to you right now. But it's also got its flaws. Now, I'm not talking about stuff like the deep web, which, frankly, since it's become known so much in the mainstream, what was the deep web is no longer really the deep web. That's a whole other layer that no one's really seen yet, I think. Apart from those who are on the inside, of course. But, yeah, I mean, the internet is fantastic. It's a great repository, I guess, of information and ideas. And the fact that, you can share ideas around the world instantaneously, brilliant. Cannot fault it. The problem is, though, sometimes those ideas that are being shared are completely wrong, and sometimes even absolutely ridiculous. You just have to look at situations when a celebrity has done something or said something absolutely stupid, and their Wikipedia article was changed to reflect elements of that. Do a Google search, there's plenty out there. Now, Wikipedia has changed the submission format, if you will, so that these kind of submissions, the sort of jokey adjustments, aren't spread out so much and aren't just out in the open as easily. But still, the idea is still there, and people can comment whatever they want. Like on the bottom of this video, someone could say that a fish just shot their dad in the face or something, and sometimes people will believe it, and it worries me. It really worries me, actually, because it's this kind of misinformation that before was a lot harder to spread, because it'd start, say, in America, and then someone would have to physically arrange it to be transported somehow. They'd have to figure out how to do it, to transport it across, say, to us in the UK, and then maybe into Europe, and, etc., etc. But now, an idea can form one side of the world, and within seconds the other side of the world's aware of it. And if this idea is wrong, and people are clinging to it as though it's truth, it can cause a lot of harm. Now, nowhere, at present anyway, is this more prevalent than the anti-vaccine movement. The fact that they will throw out pseudoscience rather than actual science, which they keep getting told and ignoring, to justify their points I don't understand it. I don't think, people keep saying that, as a generation, there's an increasing level of stupidity or a decreasing level of intelligence, whichever way you look at it. But I see people sort of watching videos, that are educational and liking them and sharing them on. And if society as a whole was getting dumber, then I wouldn't see that as much as I do. So I don't think that society as a whole is getting stupider. That's not even a word, I don't think. But maybe that's evidence. But as I say, I don't think society as a whole is going down in intelligence. I think that people have more access to the sharing of information via the internet, and therefore these ideas spread so quickly. And unfortunately, there are people who perhaps are emotionally intelligent, but don't have the research skills. They never they never learned really how to do that. It wasn't something that interested them. So if someone comes to them with information that looks scientific, they'll be like, oh, that must be true. That looks scientific. And only then, do you have the people who actually have the scientific information coming out of the woodwork at a later point and going, no, that's not right. But it's harder to change a belief once it's set. And a lot of the time, these people already have these ideas set, and it's harder then to change that mindset. I've looked at so many different things, and it's hard to tell now what is parody and what isn't. I have seen something that says that basically vaccination leads to heroin abuse because it involves needles. Now I and someone else who saw this jumped to the idea of, well, how can that be? Because I don't like needles. As part of my ongoing medication for my hypertension that I mentioned previously, I have to have at least annual fasting blood tests, and occasionally they'll want them in the middle. If there's something they don't like, they might be like, well, we'll see if it's a spike. But I at least have to have one a year, and you don't get used to it, really. I still don't like needles. I still have to look away and try and think of fluffy clouds and rainbows and unicorns. But by that logic, I have had all of my vaccinations. So, by that logic, I should be shooting up. And so should pretty much everyone who's ever been vaccinated. This isn't the case, clearly. Another one I saw seemed to be showing a rising trend in autism cases, even as low as like 1 in 50, which would be 2%. Now, I don't know. Figures seem to be showing that it's more around 1%, at least in the United States, which is where I believe this information came from. So it's there, and it's been around there. It's fairly constant, 1%, really. I think the difficulty is, obviously vaccination's been going on for years and years and years, whereas autism wasn't really given a name until about 70 years ago. We haven't given it a title. We couldn't group all of these symptomatic situations into something until about 70 years ago. So, of course, it's going to look like it's on the rise. Is it correlation or is it causation? They're different. They are different. If I go to the toilet now, following recording this, does that mean that making videos makes you want to urinate? I don't think so. Even if it happened every single time, after every video I recorded, if I suddenly felt the need after every single video, does that mean that recording videos causes that? Or is it just a weird coincidence? Is it just a thing that happens to happen at the same rough times? I'll often record these before, I've probably eaten for the first time in the day. So does that mean that recording these videos makes me suddenly want to eat? It's again that correlation, causation. And this is where the internet really is a massive double-edged sword. It'll cut you as much as it'll cut your enemies. So really, I suppose the main point is, be aware of the information that's coming out of the internet and the sources of that information. And if it sounds stupid, if it sounds too good to be true, probably is. Do your own research. Even if that's on the internet, try and find a reputable source at least. And stop the spread of misinformation. And as always, until next time, take care.